Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about a few new makeup items. We have both of the eyeshadow palettes from ESUM Cosmetics. So there's a matte and a shimmer. There's actually a third palette that was only available at the makeup show in, I think, Chicago. So I do not have that one, but it will actually be released from ESUM Cosmetics next spring for everybody. So it was kind of like an early release for, makeup artists or people who attended that convention. And then we're also going to be taking a look at some rose ink lipsticks. So I have on the shade Intuitive right now, and I have a few other shades to share with you. We'll talk about those. And then that's basically it. So we're going to focus on those items today. I am testing out the Bobbi Brown skin tint right now, so that's what's on my skin. And let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's start off with swatches of the rose ink lipsticks, and we'll take a quick look at the packaging as well. So this is the packaging, and if you're familiar with the brand, we have cream blushes that also, utilize this shape as well. That's kind of their signature shape here. So this is actually a refillable lipstick, so we do have magnetic closure. This is plastic, and we'll talk about the actual details in a few minutes while we're looking at the lip swatches, but you can see you can purchase this as a lipstick or as you can get refills as well. So this one here is the shade Intuitive. This is a satin lip color, and it has a 1-year shelf life. And you can see that the shape of our bullet here, it's actually really easy to apply the lipstick onto the lips. You've got those edges there that can really help you get into, more of the Cupid's bow area. So this is Intuitive, and this is described as a deep mauve, and I'd say that's pretty accurate. You can see it actually looks like kind of like a medium rose with a touch of mauve in it in the arm swatches, but on my lips, and by the way, I have neutral skin tone, you can see it's definitely got a touch of mauve in there. I feel like the mauve is more noticeable on the lips than it is on my skin tone. That's probably due to my base shade of the pigment in my lips. Now, I also purchased this little lip kit. So it comes like this. It's $20. This is on the Rose Ink website, and I'll have to check. I purchased mine from Sephora. I'm not sure if it's still available. I know I had sold out at one point. So you get 3 of the mini lipsticks. And this one here is my favorite. It's the shade Alluring. It is a limited edition shade, and it's a really beautiful berry. Look at that shade. So it really looks like if you take the reddest, juiciest strawberry and you crush it and you mix it with a little bit of raspberry, that's the shade that you get with Alluring. I have to say, I really, really love this color. So I'm actually going to be keeping it out in my go-to pile of lipsticks because that color is just, it's so pretty. Then we have the shade Poetic, and this is labeled as Rosie's shade on, I guess this is her everyday color. According to the website. She has another shade that is listed as her favorite. I believe that was called Poised, which I do not have. But you can see that Poetic here is going to be a peachy shade. You've got a little bit of a warm rose in there, but it's basically going to be a bit more of a true peach with a touch of terracotta in there. So we do have some warmth. We have a little bit of more of a nude tint to it as well. So I think it's a really pretty shade. And then we also have Enigmatic. And this one here is going to be a little bit peachier than Poetic. You can see it's a little bit warmer. It doesn't really have as much of that brown hue to it that you get in Poetic. It's more of a true vibrant peach. But you can see that there's a little bit of a rustiness to it. It's muted. It's not a super bright peach. So these are the shades in the mini lip kit or lip trio. And this one here is the shade Intuitive that I purchased as a full size. So let's go over the details on these lipsticks as we take a look at the lip swatches here. And according to the Rose Ink website, this is a rich, refillable lipstick that plumps the lips while drenching delicate skin in moisture and visibly blurring the appearance of vertical lip lines. The creamy formula delivers lasting weightless color with concentrated active ingredients. It's classic lipstick with a skincare twist. So the full size product is 4 grams. Again, we have a 1-year shelf life on all of these. The travel sizes are 1.2 grams each. So I think that's a really good value for this little set. A $20 purchase, you get 3.8 grams of product, whereas a regular full size costs $28. So, you're looking at a value there. Plus, I love this shade Alluring. These lipsticks are made in Italy, and I have to say, I think they're really nice. So I purchased the shade Intuitive at first. I really liked it. So I ended up ordering the lip kit to kind of test out a few more colors. There are 10 shades in the permanent line. Again, Alluring is a limited edition shade, so that is not included in those 10 shades. As for the packaging, we do have a 50% PCR plastic base and cap. So PCR is post-consumer recycled plastic. We also have, the paper carton, which is recyclable. The carton's printed with soy-based ink, and the products are Leaping Bunny certified. So just a few notes there about these products. These do have a satin finish. This is a clean beauty line, so you do have a bit of that clean beauty scent that you get from the natural ingredients. I wouldn't say it's overpowering. The lipstick is comfortable on the lips. I don't find it particularly hydrating, but I don't find it drying either. So it's kind of there, but I think it's a really beautiful formula. I have noticed that the shade Alluring appears to be a little bit more glossy in appearance than the other shades. I feel like it's just a little bit more high shine, and it's definitely that and the Intuitive shade that I'm wearing now. Those are my favorites. So overall, I think it's a really nice lipstick. I think it's definitely worth a look. I've tried some things from her line before, and I would have to say that the lipsticks stand out as well as the cream blushes. Those are the products that I really like from her line. Let's go ahead and move on to the ESUM products. All right, so ESUM Cosmetics has launched some new products, and let's first address the packaging. I did already review the blush palette, and I learned a few more things about the packaging since then. By the way, these are made in Italy, and you can see that we slide off. You can either leave it at the end there, or you can just pull this off. Makes it really easy for makeup artists to use, which is the intent. ESUM Cosmetics is actually a makeup artist brand. So this here is the Artistry palette in number 1. This is the Balanced Eyeshadow palette, and these are going to be your neutral shades. So you can actually pop these out as well. And this is completely refillable. You have names on the back. It's a little hard to see through here, but you can actually pop them out through here if you'd like to look at the names. So this little part here, this little tab, that's actually what will go into this notch here to keep it securely closed, but you can also use that to pull this out. And then from there, you can just kind of push this through to lift up the shadows, to replace them, rearrange them, and so forth. So it's really, I think the packaging is fantastic. I personally, since I'm not a makeup artist, I would prefer to have a mirror on there so I can use it while I'm putting on my makeup, but it's not a big deal. For a makeup artist, obviously, this would be incredibly useful, the ability to move around your products and slide off the lid as well. So we're going to take a look at swatches of that in just a second, but let me go ahead and show you the shimmer palette as well. This is number 2, the Intensity eyeshadow palette, and these are all shimmers. So let's go ahead. We're going to start off swatching. We're going to start with the neutrals, and the neutral palette here, these are all mattes. So we have a matte ivory, more of a matte beige. We have kind of this camel color, like camel khaki shade, a bright white. The last shade in the top row, this is actually my most used. You can see it's really a soft, kind of like a rosy beige, like a soft, almost, not quite a mauve, but almost. In the second row, we have kind of this dusty, it's not quite the camo shade, but close to that. Then we have more of this like burnt rust. We have a nice, rich, medium brown, pretty classic shade. Here's a cooler tone gray. You can see it's a pretty neutral gray though. It doesn't lean blue. And then the last shade in this middle row here is going to be a plum. And you can see that that plum definitely has some red tones to it. For the third row, we have another brown. You can see in comparison that this is slightly deeper and a little bit cooler in tone. This classic brown here has a touch more red in it. And then we have a true reddish brown. And next we go into a really deep cocoa brown, almost like a brown black, and then a true black. And you can see that's definitely a true black shade. The last shade here is a deep eggplant purple. So this is the palette here. And you can see you can definitely go in the rows like I did, but if you go down them into the columns, you can see we're kind of keeping with the same color stories. That's a really easy way to look at these. You know, if you're doing an eye look, you know, going down into the column really gives you great coordinating shades. And let's go ahead and take a look at the shimmers, and we'll do that on my other arm here. So our first shade here is going to be, you know, it's like a white champagne. It's not a true bright white. And then the second shade is going to be a soft pink, and that pink has a little bit of warmth. So next up we have a soft gold, followed by like a brighter white shimmer. And then the last shade in the top row is going to be a soft rose. I mean, those shades just on their own are just so pretty and ethereal. Next up, we have a true champagne shade. I love this one. It's one of my most used, followed by a shimmery orange. And you can see this is going to be a little bit brighter, but it's not like a neon orange. It's pretty classic. And then we have a true gold and an icy blue. So you can see it's definitely more of a light blue. It's not a silver. Last up in this row, we have a soft, you know, it's kind of like a plum, but it's got more rose in it than a true plum. It doesn't have as much purple. It's more of a tea rose. And then in the third row, we have this beautiful taupe shade. You can see we actually have a nice balance of brown and gray, followed by kind of another copper shade here. This is more, it's a reddish copper. Then we have a nice brown. You can see this is going to be a warm fawn brown, followed by a deep gray blue. And then our last shade here is going to be a violet shade here. And this is our shimmer palette. So shimmer and mattes. Let's go ahead and take a look at some demos while we go ahead and talk about the details on these items. According to the ESUM Cosmetics website, the eyeshadow palette, the Balance one with the mattes, unveils the magic of mattes. It's equipped with 15 essential matte shadows designed to balance and complement the anatomy of the face, from eyes and brows to facial contours. So you can use this anywhere on the face. I use it on the eyes. Our unique formula for our matte shadows incorporates a rich shea butter to ensure a skin conditioning base and a smooth, long-wearing application. ESUM's distinct formulas are performance-focused and developed with comprehensive attention to color, finish, and are lay-down safe, talc-free, with clean and non-toxic ingredients. This assortment of universally flattering hues glides on with an effortless finish. I have to say, I think that this is a really nice formula. It is a powdery formula, and you'll notice that as soon as you put your brush in, you do get some powder kick up in the pan. That being said, tap off your brush and you don't really get any sort of fallout on the face. So I think it's a really nice formula. And we'll talk about this with the Viseart in a minute. I know I've had a lot of requests for a comparison kind of between them. The formulas are not the same. So they definitely feel different on the eyes. This has a thin, silky texture to it. It's definitely a pretty powdery texture. And we'll talk about that with the Viseart in just a minute. Now, moving on to the shimmer palette. This is number 2, Intensity, and this retails for a bit more money. So the shimmers are going to be more expensive than the matte palette. According to ESUM, Turn up the intensity with our eyeshadow palette, notorious for creating sultry and seductive reflective looks. This radiant collection of 15 shimmering hues emphasizes and illuminates your features by utilizing everything from satin and chromatic finishes to multi-dimensional metallic tones. ESUM's distinct formulas are performance-focused, talc-free, and developed with comprehensive attention to color, finish, and are laid down safe with clean and non-toxic ingredients. So, as I mentioned, this formula, again, is also going to be different from the Viseart. The shimmer formula compared to the mattes, they're both going to have kind of a thin, silky texture. However, these are really just like pure silk on the eyes. So I think the shimmer formula, I prefer the shimmer formula over the matte formula. I feel like the matte formula is a very nice formula. It performs well, but the shimmers are really what's a special formula. It feels very thin and silky on the eyes. It performs well. These can give you a really soft, subtle shimmer, or you can build them up to get them to be a little bit more blingy. However, they are not going to be a super glittery formula, so you're not going to get a ton of glitter and shine from here. You're going to get more of, sparkled stardust and things like that. So I think it's a really beautiful palette. I love the texture of these, and I think that they are really beautiful. Let's go ahead and take a look at some comparisons now. But I wanted to show you the Neutral Mattes palette from Viseart, and this is the #1 from ESUM. So we do have similar shades, but you know what? It's a neutral palette, and a lot of neutral palettes are going to have these shades. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to swatch the Viseart Neutral Mattes right here. Now, while I'm swatching these, I can tell you right now that this formula for Viseart, the mattes, they're less powdery than the ESUM. They have a bit more grip to them. You can feel it just touching the shadow. Whether you are applying it with a brush or a finger, you can tell that they have a bit more grip. Almost, they're definitely a powder, but they have a little bit more tackiness to them, like a putty would, to grip onto that skin. So this is our first row, and you can see that we've got kind of deeper to lighter peaches. This pale white shade is an ivory, but there's a touch of peach in it. In the next row, we go on to like a deep, rich brown, kind of that, terracotta reddish orange. We have a more medium brown. And then the last shade in the middle row is going to be a softer fawn brown. Moving on to the bottom row, we're looking at some cooler tone shades. So we've got a nice rich black. We have a nice charcoal gray. You can see that this gray is going to have a little bit of a cool tone to it. There is a little bit of blue in that gray, but we also have a warm tone gray right next to it. This is like true elephant gray. And then we have a kind of this, taupe shade. It's more of a medium taupe. So this would be Neutral Mattes versus the Balance palette. Yes, there are similarities, but they are not identical. The formulas are definitely different. You can tell that by using them. And then let's take a look at some other neutral palettes. So Makeup by Mario has an actual matte neutral palette. I don't have that one, but it does look like it has similar shades. This one here has shimmers and mattes here. So let's go ahead and we'll swatch the mattes on this one. Let me go ahead and see where I can put these. I guess we'll do these ones on my hand because there aren't as many mattes. So again, we're going to have kind of a peachy beige shade. And then, so we have a medium tone one and a lighter one. Then we also have kind of this warm brown and a cooler tone taupe. We have a rose. And then we have again, a warmer brown and a cooler deep brown. So again, we're still looking at similar tones. This is a really great palette. This one here from Makeup by Mario, this is the Ethereal Eyes that unfortunately was limited edition. I don't know if it's going to be coming back or not though. I have seen a lot of, requests for it. Every time, he posts something on Instagram, a lot of people are requesting this palette to come back. and there has never been a definitive no, it's not coming back. So if you missed out on that, it might come back at some point. And then this is the Gucci eyeshadow palette in 01. And again, I'm actually running out of space to swatch, but again, you can see that we are going to have very similar shades here as well. So let me go ahead, I'll swatch a few of these, but you know, we've got the mattes in the black and the taupes and so forth. So I'll go ahead and swatch the Gucci down here, and we're just gonna look at the matte shades from this palette. And we've got black, orange, white, a soft pink. We also have a light blue in this one, which we don't have in the ESUM. Then we have kind of this, it's not really a taupe, it's going to be more of a warm camel. We have a warm brown, and running out of space, let's go over here. We have kind of this, it looks more of a berry shade in there, but you can see it is actually going to be a warm brown. There is a touch of, you know, here, let's swatch over that again. There's a touch of kind of like a berry tone to it, but it's really going to be more brown based. So again, just a whole bunch of neutrals. This is going to be our ESUM palette. And again, formula wise, I think it's a really great formula. For my personal preference, I still prefer the Viseart mattes and the ESUM mattes, but I love those ESUM shimmers. So let's look at those. All right, so let's start off, since I have the Makeup by Mario one open, let's take a look at those shimmer shades here, and we'll put these on my hand as well, and we're just using the other side. So you can see these are going to be a little bit more glittery, a little more sparkly than the ESUM. And we start off with kind of this really light champagne shade, followed by a little bit of a warmer peach, this beautiful rich brown shimmer. Then we have a soft golden sheen, very pale gold. And again, this one's going to be, it's got a touch of taupe, but it's going to be a little bit more silver. So those are the shimmers in the ethereal eyes. You can see that they don't quite match up with these, but they definitely have some similar vibes to them. These will be more sparkly though. You can see there's like glitter in the Makeup by Mario. And then this is a Viseart palette. This is Bridal Satin, which I actually haven't used yet. I picked this up, I believe it's been discontinued. And again, we don't have quite the same color stories. I'm just gonna go ahead and swatch these though, so you can see them. This was kind of my closest comparison. And let's go ahead and put that here. We start off with kind of your light, it's more of a yellowish ivory, like a light cream. Then we have a light pale blue, which we do also have in ESUM. And this first shade is going to be closest to the first shade in the ESUM. Then we go on with a light pink, very pale pink, and then more of a medium tone blue. In the second row, we have more of a salmon. It's actually a little bit more orange than a true salmon, and a gray shimmer. And you can see that this gray shimmer is going to be a little bit, it's kind of a cross between these two here in the ESUM. And then we move on, we have a purple, and look at that purple. It's a really pretty like wisteria purple, followed by not quite midnight, but a nice, you know, light navy blue. We have a really nice kind of a, I would say it's an antique gold, but a little bit lighter, followed by this beautiful rich brown. I love this shade of brown. You can see it's got a little bit more red in it than those in the ESUM palette. So it's just a little bit richer, followed by a plum. And you can see this is gonna have a bit more pink in it than the ESUM. And then last up, this is gonna be a deep charcoal gray. So that's a Bridal Satin palette from Viseart. Overall, I would have to say that, you know, the Viseart satins are fantastic. The ESUM satins are fantastic. On the eyes, again, I do feel like they are different. The ESUM feels like a thinner, silkier formula. I'm not sure if it has silicone in it, but it almost has more of that texture to it. whereas the Viseart just feels like a very finely milled shimmer. So it has more of your traditional powder texture. Neither of them have a ton of kick up or, you know, any sort of powder dust or anything like that when you're applying or when you're putting the brush in. So I think they are both really great formulas, slightly different. Viseart's formula here, you can see the shimmers. You know, we've got some richer shades in this particular palette, and the shimmer here doesn't look quite as intense as the shimmer in the ESUM. The ESUM is very, very finely milled, but it does have a little bit more sparkle to it than most of the Viseart shades. The Viseart shades, you really have more of a range. And, you know, Viseart, we have a lot more shades to choose from than ESUM so far. So it's really easy to find exactly what you're looking for. Between both brands, I have to say, I really like both of them. I think they are both fantastic brands. I think they both have great packaging, refillable packaging that you can use to move around and so forth. And these are both brands that were designed for use by makeup artists as well as for everybody. So I think overall, the palettes are fantastic. I really like both of them, but if you had to pick between the mattes and the shimmers for ESUM, I would definitely go with the shimmers. Those are definitely my favorite, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else they come up with. So these are going to be all of my comparisons for today. I hope this was helpful. Overall, I think, you know, all of these were very solid products that I featured here today. I'd like to know if you've tried any of these, what your thoughts are. Please let me know down below in the comments, and I'll see you very soon. Have a great day.